الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله عليه صلاة الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله عليه صلاة الله بها يثبت الإيمان بها يحصل الأمان كرر أيها الإنسان لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله عليه صلاة الله قد أتانا في الأخبار عن المصطفى المختار أن أفضل الأذكار لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله عليه صلاة الله هي شفاء الصدور هي نور على نور ذكر ربك الغفور لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله عليه صلاة الله
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما اللهم اجعل أعمالنا خالصة لوجهك ولا تجعل فيها حظا لغيرك آمين يا رب العالمين. I greet each and everyone with the universal greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We start with the praises of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all praise due to Him. We ask of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send abundant salutation on our beloved Prophet Mohamed sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's been a week since we've been discussing this particular surah, Surah al-Najm, and we had an amazing start to the series of lectures. And again, before we start, I would like each and everyone to take a moment to prepare their hearts and minds to receive the light of the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This book, the Holy Quran, is like no other. but the heart needs to be prepared to receive the nur and the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I would like to request of each and everyone to take a moment, disconnect from everything, reconnect your heart and your mind and your soul to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and ask of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow these words to penetrate deeply into our hearts, that it penetrates so deeply into the heart that it then flows through the blood into the veins, into the rest of our limbs, and it shows on our limbs. Ameen. Ya Rabbal Alameen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the believers, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ. The true believer is such that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned, وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. It causes the heart to shake. The heart gets affected every time Allah's name is mentioned. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's verses are recited upon them, زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. It increases them in their iman. This is the state. This is the state that we want to find ourselves in. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name is going to be mentioned, it must affect our hearts. It must cause our hearts to shake. My Creator was just mentioned. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to us, and that when He is speaking to us via the Holy Quran, that it increases our iman. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. Again, we remind ourselves of the many favors that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon us, allowing us to have woken up this morning, allowing us to have a roof over our heads, allowing us to be able to see and hear and speak, allowing us to be safe with our family in our homes, and being able to have a nice meal for the day. And so, whatever situation we find ourselves in currently in this lockdown, may we look for the positives, and may we take this opportunity to draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. That if you show gratitude, we will most definitely increase. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that when He increases us, there's no limits to how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can increase us. So may we be grateful, inshallah. May we be grateful for this opportunity, once again listening to His words. We start with the basmala, and that is to say, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. As this is a request and a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فإذا قرأت القرآن فاستعذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. When you read the Quran, seek protection from shaitan the cursed. In our last session, I went into some depth as to the reasons as to why we are going to seek protection when trying to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words. And again, we beg of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the purest and most correct understanding of His words this evening. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. And then we start with the basmala. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah. We implore Him by two of His most beautiful names, Ar-Rahman, the most merciful, that Allah showers us with His blessings in this dunya through connecting to His Quran, connecting to His word, and Ar-Rahim, that He showers us with His mercies in the year after by connecting to the Holy Quran. There are so many benefits of being of those that are connected to Quran. Just one of them, very famous hadith, خيركم من تعلم القرآن علمه. The best of you are those who learn and teach the Quran. In the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the elite, the best of the best, are those that are connected to the greatest of the great. Allah Akbar. Being connected to the Quran means you are connected to Allah. And Allah is Allahu Akbar. Allah is greater than everything else. So we reconnect our hearts, we reconnect our minds to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to His word. So we start on that note. We are going to continue with Surah al-Najm, verse number 12. And in our previous discussion that we had, we spoke about the climate in which this particular surah, or the background in which this particular surah was read. It was one of the first surahs to be read out in public to the Quraysh. There's a surah with Sajida, and all the non-believers even found themselves making sujood, and they, after dispersing, realizing their folly, And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes to give a very important message after taking an oath by the star, وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى, when it settles or when it descends. Something important was brought to my attention. I mentioned last week that the source of light of the star is the sun. uh, the star actually has intrinsic light. MashaAllah, I got to learn something new. Intrinsic light, and then it has the sun that increases that light. And I made a connection between Rasulullah SAW being a star. So Rasulullah has this intrinsic light, intrinsic nur, and then the source, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, increasing that nur. Jibreel alayhi salam, increasing that connection and that nur. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes an oath by the star that وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى. Your your sahib, your companion, the individual that was with you all these years has not gone astray and has not erred. The star is there as a means of guidance, and he will thus be a means of guidance. وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى, and he doesn't speak of his own accord. He doesn't speak of his hawa. He doesn't speak of his desire. إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَى. This is divine inspiration, divine revelation that has been revealed to him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the connection between him, the greatest of creation, and the greatest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's malaika coming together, meeting for the sole purpose of transmission of the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The greatest of creation meeting the greatest of malaika, pure upon pure. Imagine that meeting and imagine that connection that was made to receive and connect to the words of Allah. Remind you of the verse in Surah Hashr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل, were we to reveal this Quran on a mountain, لَرَأَيْتَهُ خَاشِعًا, the mountain would have split asunder. Well, surely the mountain would have خَاشِعًا, would have humbled itself. مُتَصَدِّعًا, and it would have split asunder, split apart, من خشية الله, out of awe and fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet these two amazing beings were able to transfer from one pure to the next pure. Rasulullah then received this revelation. He then lived the revelation and he passed it on to the Sahaba, who passed it on to the Tabi'in, who eventually passed it on all the way down to us. Subhanallah. And the purity as to how these words were maintained. It was a meeting between the greatest of the great. And Allah subhanahu speaks about how he sallallahu alayhi wasallam got to see Jibreel in his real state. The verses that we start with this evening starts at the point to ask the question, are you going to dispute with Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in relation to this, in relation to what he's seen, in relation to what he conveys to you now? This was not a just any meeting. This is the meeting of greats to convey the message. Are you going to dispute with him regarding this? Are you going to dispute with him regarding the Quran, which is not his own word? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَتُمَارُونَهُ عَلَى مَا يَرَى. Are you أَفَتُمَارُونَ? This Hamza over here, as we know, our Arabic students, it puts the sentence into question. What type of Hamza is this? This is called Hamzatul Istifham, from Faham. Faham, to understand. So it is seeking to understand. أَفَتُمَارُونَهُ. Are you going to? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes to pose a question. Are you going to dispute with him على ما يرى, with that which he sees? Are you going to dispute with him in relation to what Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam has seen? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then affirms وَلَقَدْ وَلَقَدْ lam of tawqeed, the lam for emphasis, and the qad, there's two forms of emphasis over here, emphasizing the reality of Rasulullah's meeting with this great creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The pure meeting the pure. وَلَقَدْ رَآهُ, and indeed he has seen him نَزْلَةً أُخْرَى, another descension, another coming down, another time that he met Jibreel alayhi salam in this particular form. So there was the meeting at that particular point where Rasulullah saw him in his original form, and there's another time where Rasulullah sees him in this particular form, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes to say that there's absolutely no doubt in this reality that has happened. And so again we take a moment to reflect on these ayat. خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. The best of you are those who learn and teach the Quran to others. But look at who the carriers of Quran were. They were pure beings. And so we wish to connect, truly connect to the Holy Quran, we need to be of those that are continuously purifying ourselves. I ended off our last session speaking about the heart and how we consistently need to be going through a process of tazkiyatul qulub, purification of the heart, because when the heart is pure, it will be able to receive the light and the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If it's not pure, it's like that glass that is turned upside down. No matter how many times you try to pour into that glass, absolutely nothing is going to go into that glass. So are our hearts ready to receive the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Have we prepared our hearts to sit in a dars, in a lesson, with the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being recited? Because Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains here that these two pure beings met, and Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saw him at another point in time, another occasion, another time when Jibreel alayhi salam descended and came down. Where was this? What was the journey that Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was on, that he got to see Jibreel alayhi salam? This was عند سدرة المنتهى. This was on the journey that eventually took him to سدرة المنتهى. The سدرة المنتهى is Sidrat is, it speaks about the low tree. The low tree, and this is the furthest most low tree, or the uppermost most boundary. And I want to get into some detail over here. Before I get into this detail, this journey speaks about the Isra and the Mi'raj. It says this particular point in time where Rasulullah went on the Isra, went on the Mi'raj, and he then descended, then he then went up through the seven heavens with Jibreel alayhi salam, going through each heaven, knocking at the door of that particular heaven or that particular sama, that particular station, and the prophets meeting Rasulullah at every single station, till eventually he comes to what is known as the Surah Sidrat al-Muntaha. And the verses to come is going to tell us something interesting as to what happens. The word Sidra, so it's speaking about this low tree at the uppermost point of the seventh heaven, the different samawat, the seven skies, the seven heavens, and here there is this particular tree. And this is at the furthest most point. The word sidr comes from sadira. Sadira means to be amazed, or to be bedazzled. So this is this low tree that is completely amazing. And it is under the throne, under the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Muntaha, at the furthest most point. Meaning, no one can go beyond this particular point. Not Jibreel alayhi salam, and none of the other malaika are able to go beyond this point. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to draw Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam even closer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved the efforts of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam so much that he took him beyond this point, that even Jibreel alayhi salam, the best of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's malaika, the one that was there throughout every generation, sending the message to all the prophets that were present, he is not even allowed to go beyond this point, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala draws Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam closer. This word muntaha, intaha, comes from the word nahi, to negate. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something beautiful about Rasulullah in another surah. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ. And whatever Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam comes with, so take it. فَخُذُوهُ. وَمَا نَهَا. Here's the word. وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُ. Naha, fantahu, and intaha, muntaha. And what he negates you and he stops you from, so stay away from it. So here's a particular point where we see that it's a point of negation, a point of stop, a point that you shouldn't go beyond. One cannot go beyond. This is the boundary. This is the boundary that even the malaika cannot go beyond. We see that even the malaika have to follow strict laws. And so in terms of our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in terms of our relationship with Rasulullah sallallahu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about these boundaries. What Rasulullah comes with, take it. فَخُذُوهُ. Take it. وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ. And that which He's negated you from, He's stopped you from, فَانْتَهُ. Stay away. We make to write this particular point. Ya Allah, we are currently in a lockdown, and it's an opportunity for me and you to reflect on our life that has passed us, on our shortcomings, on the things that we have slipped up on, the things that we have done wrong, on the times that Rasulullah requested of us to do and we didn't do. And there were times that Rasulullah requested us to stay away from and we didn't stay away from those things. Even the Malaika comes to, Jibreel alayhi salam comes to a point where he has to obey these commands, where he has to refrain from going beyond the limits. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us in this time that we are locked down to turn to Him and reform ourselves. May we come out of the lockdown, inshallah, as better versions of ourselves. Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alameen. But there's something amazing that happens. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows Nabi Muhammad sallallahu to go beyond this particular point. And so there are certain things in this dunya that is haram for us, where we are negated and we are requested to refrain from. But we know in Jannah, those same things that we've been negated from, we are then going to be allowed to enjoy. For example, a reminder, this is a very important reminder, that for a male to wear gold, it is completely impermissible. And many a time we find our males still wearing gold. Rasulullah at one particular point saw one of his companions wearing a gold ring and he removed it from this particular person and threw it on the ground. A male is not allowed to wear silk. But those things, our garments, our clothing in Jannah is going to be silk. We are not allowed to drink alcohol. That's the limits. Fantahu, stay away from it. And in Jannah, there's going to be rivers of wine that we are going to be able to drink from. So whilst we respect and try our best to fulfill the command of Allah in this dunya, at the point we are going to be allowed to transverse those boundaries. We are going to go beyond those boundaries to enjoy the gifts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Here at this particular point, Jibreel alayhi salam would not go any further, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed Nabi Muhammad sallallahu to go beyond this particular point. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says beyond this point, or by this point, there is عندها Jannatul Ma'wa. By it, very close to it, by this place is Jannah, is a garden, al-Ma'wa. This word al-Ma'wa, very interesting word. The word al-Ma'wa means an abode. It comes from the word awa. It's rooted in awa. And awa means to seek refuge. Somewhere you're going to seek refuge, you're going to protect yourself, you're going to repay whatever needs to be repaired, you're going to rejuvenate. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about this particular Jannah as a place of rejuvenation. I remind myself and yourselves that the peak of our ages would be whilst we in Jannah, approximately according to Hadith 33. We are going to be rejuvenated, we are going to be renewed. Subhanallah. So currently I'm at my peak, mashallah. The peak of my life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all long lives, inshallah. But ma'wa is that place of refuge, that place of rejuvenation, where we're going to rejuvenate, and we're going to enjoy, and we're going to forget about the negatives. A person that had a difficult life in this dunya, he struggled, but he tried to the best of his abilities to obey the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It comes hadith, he will be dipped into Jannah. So in the day of Qiyamah, he will be dipped into Jannah. And when he's dipped into Jannah, in and out, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks him, did he have any difficulty in the world? And he will take an oath, Wallahi, I had absolutely no difficulty in this world. That moment in Jannah will make him have forgotten all the difficulties that he went through. All the difficulties that he went through completely forgotten, and he will now, that's not even being entered into Jannah. He's entered into Jannah, and he's rejuvenated. A particular senior lady in the time of Rasulullah asked if she would be able to enter into Jannah. The Rasulullah wanting to make a joke with her. He said, no, unfortunately, there will not be. There's no place for old ladies in Jannah. And the lady was very, very sad. The Rasulullah then informed her that he mentioned that only to say that she will not be the same age when she entered into Jannah. Rather, she will be rejuvenated. She will be rejuvenated in the ma'wa, that place of rejuvenation, where she will age will be changed. We should be at the age of 33, subhanAllah. So we can all look to that. Those that are over 33, you can look forward to Jannah, where you are going to. You're going to be back at your peak. Ameen. Ya Rabbal Alameen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about this tree there. What happened? إِذْ يَغْشَى السِّدْرَةَ مَا يَغْشَى. When covered the sidra, this particular tree, this low tree, this amazing tree, مَا يَغْشَى, that which covered it. So something covered it. It comes in hadith that there was particular golden butterflies that were flying and that came to settle on this tree. And so you can picture a tree that has lights on it, beautiful tree that has lights. You can imagine these golden butterflies. They are a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we have never seen yet. The most magnificent creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala settling on this particular tree. And the scholars of tafsir mention that it was a means of welcoming Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's now coming into this particular place. He's going to meet his Lord Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows this tree to be filled with light. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows this tree to be filled with light such that it welcomes Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مَا زَاغَ الْبَصَرُ. Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam's eyes did not deviate, زَاغَ, to deviate, وَمَا طَغَى, and it did not transgress any bounds. Rasul's eyes, his eyesight, he saw what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wished him to see. He saw what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed him to see. And again, this word zagha, very interesting word to deviate. Earlier on, the verse Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مَا كَذَبَ الْفُؤَادُ مَا رَأَى. The heart did not lie about what it saw. Meaning the heart has some insight, the heart can see. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about those who have a deviation in their heart. فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ, same word, زَيْغ, they have a deviation in their heart. فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ. When they see verses and that are unclear, then they try to interpret and they try to have their own understanding of what these verses mean. So again, I spoke about earlier how it's important to have the heart in the right state. If our hearts are deviant, if we have deviations in our hearts, if our hearts are filled with the diseases that sometimes many of us have, may Allah protect us from this, then to get a true appreciation of the Quran, the pure meaning of the Holy Quran is going to be very, very difficult. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. So, مَا زَاغَ الْبَصَرُ, the eyes did not divert. As we know earlier, the heart did not lie about what it saw. And so when we purify our hearts, too is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala going to unveil amazing things for us. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Something interesting about this particular story, it's in relation to this journey of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, going beyond the seven heavens, going beyond where Jibreel alayhi salam went to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we'd find that this happened in a period of difficulty. This happened after what is known as Aamul Huzn. This happened after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in what you could call a lockdown, the 3 years that he was in a particular valley, the valley of Abu Talib, when they boycotted the Muslims. After Rasulullah came out and his uncle passes on, his wife Khadija radiallahu anha passes on, he goes to Taif and he's stoned. And yet, even under all those circumstances, Rasulullah turns back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He comes to the tree and he makes dua and he says, Ya Allah, if you are not angry with me, then he doesn't have a care of what the people think of him. When they asked, Jibreel Islam came to him and asked him, here are the malaika of the mountains. Give your command, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed him to topple the mountains on top of the people of Taif. How did Rasulullah respond? He responded with care, with love, with compassion, with concern, and he made a dua that perhaps from the offspring of the people of Taif would come those who would embrace Islam and those who would lead Islam. And today, subhanAllah, the entire Taif is Muslim. And so the point I wish to make here is this particular story over here, these verses, these ayat, are connected to major events in the life of Rasulullah that were difficult, that were trying, that was of intense hardship. But inna ma'al usri yusra, that with that difficulty comes the ease. With that difficulty comes the ease. We are currently going through difficult circumstances. We are currently going through a crisis. We are in our homes. We have never been so closely connected to our families, with our children, with our spouses, so closely connected day after day. This can either be an opportunity for great growth, great growth, an opportunity that is only under pressure that you can choose your response, you can choose your reaction, you can choose it as an opportunity to grow, to better yourself, to refine yourself as a means of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah says, Akmalul mu'minina iman ahsanum khuluqa. That the most complete of you in iman is the one of the best character. وَخِيَارُكُمْ خِيَارُكُمْ لِنِسَائِهِمْ. And the best of you are those that are best to their wives. In this last week, just over a week of lockdown, under pressure, how have you been responding? How have you been responding to your wife? And I speak to myself first. How have I been responding? I need to reflect. If this is an opportunity for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow me to grow, have I grown? Or has this become an opportunity for things to become worse? How have I been responding to my children? Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, through his difficulties, always had the most amazing response. But look what happens. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala draws him close. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens up doors that not even Jibreel alayhi salam could go beyond. And so through this time of difficulty, through this lockdown, whenever Rasulullah was in khalwa, whenever he was alone and contemplating, great things always happened. The Ghar Hira, Jabal Nur, Rasulullah went often to contemplate, and it is there where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to Jibreel alayhi salam and gave him enlightenment. It was in the struggle of Ta'if when they were on lockdown that through that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings him on this particular journey. And so we see the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over and over and over again. Yusuf alayhi salam, imprisoned, eventually to become the Minister of Finance, leading the masses. We make dua, inshallah, that we see the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything that He does. Even when times are difficult, we see the positive and we take an opportunity to grow, to draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in refining ourselves, refining our character. Ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. We carry on with the verses, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَقَدْ رَآ. Again, two forms of emphasis. لَقَدْ رَآ. رَآ from ru'ya, to see. Indeed, he saw. Bin from ayat. Ayat is the plural of ayah. Ayat. For our Arabic students, we remember you have if it's a feminine word, you have to have ayatun, and then ayatani, and then the plural is ayatun. Ayatun. And the other one is ayati. Ayati. Why? Because of min. So min ayati jar majroor. And then I hope you still remember these concepts. I hope you are not too rusty. Okay, so ayati is the jam and the salim, it's a sound feminine plural, and it comes in ayati because of min ayati rabbihi. Indeed, he saw from the signs of rabbihi, his Lord, al-kubra, the great signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Through difficulties, when we have the correct response, through difficulties, when we say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun, from Allah do we come and to Allah do we return. When we have this type of response, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says regarding these verses, أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَيْهِمْ صَلَوَاتٌ مِّن The salutations of their Lord are upon them. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُهْتَدُونَ These people are the guided ones. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking for. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking for us to rise above our lower base selves and just respond, and just react. I remind you that when we have a stimulus, there's generally going to be a response. When you have a stimulus, there's going to be a response. But in between that stimulus and the response is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, is willpower. We have the ability to choose. We have the choice. If we look at Rasulullah, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ Indeed has come to you in the Messenger of Allah, the perfect example, best example. Every situation he found himself in, he had the most amazing response. When we have this over and over and over, for the sake of Allah, لَقَدْ رَآ مِنْ آيَاتِ رَبِّي الْكُبْرَى Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to open up for us and show us of his signs, show us of his amazing abilities and qualities, and allow us to draw closer to him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about these people, أُولَٰئِكَ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ Muqarrabun are those people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala draws close to him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of the Muqarrabun. But this is the process. We have to go through a process. Every situation we find ourselves in, we have the best reaction. And through that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will draw us closer to him. Through that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open up for us. Through that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show us his signs. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. What are of the signs that Rasulullah saw on this journey of the Isra Mi'raj? Number one, he traveled from Makkah al-Mukarramah to Medina al-Munawwara on a burak. Burak, the word bark. Bark means lightning. So this animal traveled at the speed of lightning. As far as the eye could see, wherever this burak could see, within a flash, at the speed of lightning, the burak would be there. So in a short space of time, Rasulullah went from Makkah al-Mukarramah to Medina al-Munawwara. This is one of the miracles. And then at the Masjid al-Aqsa, sorry, not Medina al-Munawwara, Masjid al-Aqsa, sorry, he was given the honor of leading all the prophets in Salah. And it was then that Nabi Muhammad, Jibreel alayhi salam, takes him up through the seven heavens. It's at this particular point that Jibreel alayhi salam takes him up through the through the seven heavens. When he goes through the seven heavens, he meets the different prophets. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam goes through Jannah and sees the delights of Jannah and some of the people of Jannah and sees how they are enjoying themselves. Nabi Muhammad also goes through Jahannam, and he mentions quite a few of the punishments that people are going through things that we are sometimes very, very neglectful of. The verse I mentioned earlier, وَمَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوا, and that which Nabi Muhammad comes with, take it. وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا, and that which he نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ, he prevents you from, he negates you from, stay away from it. Through that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to open up for us. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then changes the topic. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again opens up a question. Again, Hamzatul Istifham. Hamza of Istifham from Faham, the 10th Bab, Istifham, to seek, to understand. Afara'aytum, do you see? Allat, do you see this God, this deity that you worship? They used to worship idols, the one who's called Lat, wal Uzza, and do you see these idols that you worship, Al Uzza, wa Manat, and this idol that you worship, Manat, al-Thalithat al-Ukhra, the other one of them, the third one of them. Do you see these things that you worship? Alakum al-Dhakar, is it for you that you have sons? They were very amazed with sons. Son was an honor for them. And if there was a daughter, subhanAllah, in the time of Jahiliyyah, the Quraysh would bury their daughters alive. May Allah subhanahu protect us from that. وَلَهُ الْأُنْثَى, and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the attribute a female. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is questioning them here. You say for me, his daughters, they would say these are the daughters of Allah. They would also mention that the malaika are the daughters of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They loved sons and they despised daughters. When it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they attribute daughters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks him in this particular verse over here, where he says to them, Tilka idan, this is this is thus qismatun, a qisma is a division. These are, it is completely incorrect, it is completely unjust, it is completely unfair. How you have this wayward way of thinking? Firstly, number one, worshipping Manat and Lat and Uzza, and then beyond that, taking it beyond all bounds, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Allah is one. Allah is not in need of anything. Don't associate partners with Him. Don't associate anything to Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect without any need of anything. So how do you come up with these types of suggestions? What I find interesting here is the change of discussion. أَفَرَأَيْتُمُ اللَّاتَ وَالْعُزَّى, do you see Lat and Uzza and Manat? These things that you worship. Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam goes through a process where he sees Jibreel alayhi salam. He goes through a process where he meets Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he comes back to convey an even more intensified message. This was now after 10 years of giving da'wah, after being tortured, after being firm, after being consistent, after not giving up. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you the gift of seeing Jannah and the bliss of Jannah, seeing Jahannam. Rasulullah was already concerned before having seen it. Yet Rasulullah sees it himself and the people that are being tortured in Jahannam. He sees Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He comes back with this particular message, being connected to the source of everything on one side. And then you are one that's connected to Lat and Uzza. You have your focus It's not where it's supposed to be. And so often the, the Quran speaks about idols. Often the Quran speaks about idol worship. And in connection to us, sometimes we overlook these verses because it feels as if there's no connection to me and you in relation to these verses. We don't worship idols. We don't bow down to stone. We don't do any of these things. But again, the connection is made. Here is Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam meeting with the greatest of the great Jibreel alayhi salam to convey that message of Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes him beyond that point to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he comes back to convey the message. People are either connected to him, Sahaba radiallahu anhu, who attach themselves to him and follow his teachings and continue conveying his message even after he passes on. And then on the other side, there are those that are connected to their own whims and their own desires, following what they wish. Lat and Uzza and Manat. How is this relevant to us? They are going to be of us. They are going to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, connect to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, connect to the pious, the salihin, try to fulfill the best of our ability, the responsibility that Allah has given us as a representative of Him, or there's going to be of us that's going to have other deities in our lives, other things that we idolize. Allah says, أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَى. Have you seen the one who has taken his hawa, his lower-based desires, as his Allah? That's an idol. I idolize myself, my nafs. I idolize my work. Everything is about work, such that I can't do anything else. I can't make salah on time because of my work, my work, my work, my work, my work. I idolize money. Money is my life. I forgot about everything else and I can only think about money. I idolize other things that I'm chasing and I'm thinking of and I'm connecting to, whilst there is this amazing reality of Nabi Muhammad meeting with the greatest of creation, the greatest of Malaika, to receive the message. Thereafter, going to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeing of the great signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, coming back to now further convey this message to his Sahaba so that they too can continue inviting others to this beautiful deed that ends up by Jannatul Ma'wa, ends up by in Jannah. We can be so disconnected and only connected to this dunya. So disconnected and only connected to the idols that we worship. When we take a moment to reflect and ask ourselves, what has our focus been? Everything in this lockdown, almost everything has been taken away from us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed the world on lockdown. Wine cannot be sold, nightclubs are closed. There's so much wrong that has been stopped. Opportunity for us to reflect, an opportunity for us to reset. Take the opportunity and ask yourself, what is it? What is my purpose? Is my purpose just chasing after this dunya? Is my purpose chasing after those things that I idolize? Is my purpose to connect to Allah, connect others to Allah, live in such a way that I achieve the goal of taking myself and my family to the pleasure of Allah, which ultimately earns me Jannah. Brothers and sisters in Islam, shukran for joining me this evening. I hope you benefited from what was said. If there's anything that was said that is correct, it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's all praise due to Him. If there's anything that was said incorrectly, it's from my own weaknesses and from shaitan, and I ask your forgiveness. Via these verses, I definitely feel inspired, and I hope you feel inspired too, to reset, reconnect, and refocus on great objectives of allowing ourselves and our families to ultimately achieve Jannah through working through this dunya to achieve those goals. I say shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
إله إلا الله لا نافي الأخبار عن المصطفى المختار أن أفضل الأذكار لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله عليه صلاة الله هي شفاء الصدور هي نور على نور ذكر ربك الغفور لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله